Welcome to Soulful Practices Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Holling-Brooks, and over the past 20 years, I have been on a journey of healing and awakening. I'm also a coach and practitioner for clients on their journey of unbridling their true self. The number one question I'm asked is, what meditation or practice will help me reach my goals? While there is no one meditation or secret mantra that will unlock our own awakening, there is a doorway that will lead us there. And that's the doorway of learning and cultivating the skills of self-reflection and contemplation. Each episode of this podcast offers you pocket teachings and practices that you can implement right away to help you courageously connect with living your authentic soul-led life. Let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to season 4. I can't believe that, of Soulful Practices podcast. I am your host, Michelle Holling-Brooks, and I am super excited to be diving into season 4. And it's a little bit like kind of surreal to me still to think that we are in season 4, that we've had 3 beautiful seasons together, and we are now entering into episode 37. And this season is going to be all about the theme of courageous connection, or courageously connecting, if we want to turn it into an act, into a verb, of allowing ourselves to be in motion with that. For those of you who might have followed along with me, we're just coming off of a 2-month summer break where I tend to try to slow down and not have as much on that recording schedule that's there and demanding of my time, so that I can kind of reallocate that to my girls when they are out of school for the summer, because I'm in the States, in the US. And also this summer I've been working, kind of filling in that time, working really feverishly behind the scenes with the final touches and edits and items that I need to have in place to officially launch, publish, print my first self-publishing project. It turned into more than just a book, and all that entails, and especially also putting together a Kickstarter campaign. And this is my first crowdfunding campaign, and it was such a crash course, but I actually was able to find some amazing coaches and guides to bring me together with Launch Boom Games and other awesome people who are just experts in this field that took a look at my project, absolutely loved it, and wanted to help me make the most out of it so that the campaign can be successful, the publishing we can have the funds that we need, and we can really launch this project the way it deserves to be launched and wants to. So that's what I've been up to all this summer, and I'm super excited to say it finally came to me, and it was like, yes, now is the time. So August is our lunch month. We're going to be launching at the end of the month, and so some more details will be coming out throughout the month with that, but I just wanted to get that on your radar screen. And in case you don't know, what I'm talking about is the project's called the Sacred Witness Oracle Suite. And so it's 3 beautiful tools that come together to really help you open and awaken to that healing power of the sacred witness within. How do we soulfully live, even if the world has kind of ripped us apart from who we truly feel that we are? How do we live a life that's in alignment with who we are? And how do we heal that past trauma and separations and conditioned selves in a conscious way, in a loving way, in a way that really brings us into integration, and then opening up to true wholeness, versus just trying to lob off that part of us, bypass, do weird, odd things with it. How do we really bring ourselves into a deep felt sense of internal safety, companionship, and opening? And that's what this season is all about too. So I really got excited when both the launch of the Sacred Witness Oracle was coming out, and then the topic for this season dropped in, and I was like, oh, it's perfect, because they both really bring forward the different ways in which we are separated. And we're going to talk about that more in this episode. And then how do we heal that, and how do we bring that back in? So even the act of self-publishing has challenged me so much. And how do I connect with myself? How do I view myself as not only a creative, but also the person who produces it and brings that forward? I was so fortunate and lucky with my first book that I went into publishing with, and I had beautiful book coaches and people coming in to support me, and also a wonderful publisher, a small boutique publisher, Trafalgar Squares Press. And it really brought me in a way that allowed me to publish that first book in a time frame where I was just coming off of a pretty significant healing journey with cancer. And that book, The Horse Cure, is something that when I look back to, I kind of am like, wow, how did that book even get there? Like, I kind of really was putting that book together as a bit of a swan song of like, hey, if this goes wrong, I want people to see the world of equine partnered, as I call it, psychotherapy and coaching. I want them to be able to see the wisdom that happens when we partner with ourselves and the sentience of other beings, and what does that then open us up for our own personal healing track, and how do we do that in an ethically way where we're not just placing our healing on another being, making them our healers, they're our visionaries, they're our eyes and our guides. Like, how do we do this in partnership? And so that's what my first book was about. But what I didn't really tell you is like how I did it. I just shared stories of what it could look like. The Sacred Witness Oracle is more of that step-by-step guidebook. And so it has a 56 card oracle, hand-painted, no AI here, deck where I invited in my beautiful friend and artist, Kim Ganley, called her up and said, hey, I've got this crazy project in mind. Would you like to work with me on it? I thought I was going to be able to wait and not bring the Oracle deck in until later after I published the main book, Trauma Formed Enlightenment, but it just really said no, it wants to have the deck with it. It wants to have the different abilities to work, to be with, to meet those parts of you when they come up, both the wounded parts and our joys and our wisdom. We're going to talk about that this season too. Not just how do we help hold the parts of us that are struggling, but how do we also liberate and give a runway to the parts of us that are yearning for us to step into creation, try something new, break out of an old mold? Like, how do we build off of everything we've talked about in seasons 1 through 3 in a way that really gets us into that connection, that act of connecting versus the intentions, the ideas, the setting ourselves up? We need the setup, hence why seasons 1 through 3 are here, and also why the book has 56 different cards in it. We need those different ways to help us illuminate and see when we have something reining us in and holding us back. And then we also need to develop the trust and the faith and the partnership to be able to take that bridle off, so to speak, and open to that liberty ride, liberate ourselves to be able to follow and move and be in that dance with our beautiful heart energy. So not only does it have that 56 card deck that Kim Ganley helped me bring together, it has both a beautiful guidebook. This is a little bit bigger than the guidebook is. It's a 6x9, but when I'm editing, this is the easiest way. This is the advanced reader copy of it. And the guidebook is steeped in reflections, somatic practices, parts work. It's really rooted in a quick way for you to see that when this card comes forward, this is the dialogue, the ideas, the inspirations, the new perspective that your system is really asking you to bring forward so that it can free itself up. It can liberate it, awaken the healing power that is within you, because ultimately you are your own guru, visionary, mystic, guide. That is all within you, with that beautiful wise heart and that soul being, the body's wisdom, because it's not our enemy. And then therefore the mind stops trying to just protect us like a lone wolf and actually joins us. And so that's what the guidebook helps you do with those reflections and exercises, and a little bit more bite-sized nuggets, but still it's really meaty within itself. It's not a little quick little fortune cookie ease kind of a thing. It really is something that you can sit with, read the pages, work with the exercises, and really have a lot of depth within that. And then for those that are really feeling called to have a little bit more understanding, to hold a broader picture, to put the roots down within their system of what that card is inviting forward, both through the image that Kim did and through the reflections that channeled through me, is that you can then go into that companion book, and it just references you right there, so you don't even have to like guess where you're going in the companion book. It takes you right into that place where you can read that passage, open to a guided journey that I had more space to be able to really bring you into and to work with. I absolutely love this product. If you had asked me 3 years ago when I went to write the book Trauma Informed Enlightenment if I would be rolling out a self-published second book and oracle deck and doing it through a boutique independent press of my own, through Unbridled Change is the publisher, I would have looked at you and said, yeah, that's not going to happen. I am not there. I'm not ready. I don't have the skills. I don't know how to do that. Where would the funds come from? And so I had to courageously connect with that within myself. And that's again what this season is about, is like, how do we help get out of our own way? And how do we say yes to that little whisper in our heart that says, yeah, but I think this is doable. Is it scary? Yes. Is it unknown? Yes. Do you actually know how all the pieces are coming together? No, you don't. And yet, leap, follow me, work with me. So I'll be leaping. Honestly, the idea of crowdfunding is scarier to me. I had to do so much beautiful work around it, and it's just sacred work, but it was scared at first. And the only difference between scared and sacred is where you put that little C. And a person with dyslexia, it's sometimes hard to see which way that is. But if I just move that C after over there into the sacred, then I am allowing myself to step into my own inner world without that in the way, without that fear and that scared and that scarcity and that doubt and illusion. And this season is all about, how do we do that? How do we meet those? Not make ourselves feel bad for them, not poo-poo ourselves for them, not judge ourselves with hands on hips of why am I stuck in this, or why do I care what so-and-so says. I've got some great, beautiful quotes from some of my favorite go-to creators and authors and speakers within this field that have really helped me and helped me kind of say, okay, yes, I'm willing to open this to crowdfunding. I'm willing to put that creation and allow it to come to full form through connection, through connecting with the heart of another. And ultimately, that's what the Sacred Witness is about. It's not about healing in isolation. It's about healing through connection. And so this Sacred Witness project has really been that for me. It's been such a huge learning curve of seeing the alchemy that has come together from my own journey and how I've helped others. And I'm so grateful for it, and I wouldn't change any of it. And you now get that opportunity to see it, to be a part of that, and to join us. So below I have all the links about the Kickstarter campaign and how you can both join us for exclusive backer pricing and bonuses and workshops that are only going to come through those that support the campaign in that way. We'll definitely have support people when we launch it officially in the mid to late fall. But our Kickstarter backers are the ones that are coming together to help make this possible. And I want to honor that and connect with that and really welcome and nourish that community that's nourishing me and also each and every one of you. Really, it's a movement of saying we don't want to live through fear anymore. We don't want fear and scarcity and comparison and our conditioned selves of who we were, of how we were as a collective, to be driving us anymore. It's time to heal. It's time to pull back those curtains and really see what is driving us, why that is driving us. Look with kindness, compassion, but fierce strength, and connect. Connect into what we are being called to be, who we're being called to be, how we're being called to be, and allow that to guide us in our actions. It's really like a soul activist movement, and I'm really excited to be a part of it, to have my place in that activism, and inviting you to be a part of that with us. So check out all those links below. But now let's dive in true beautiful practices where they all kind of come together, right? And season 4, just like the Sacred Witness Oracle Suite, it said this is the time that we need to courageously connect with our true voice, connect with our dreams, our inner guidance and knowing. This is the time to connect consciously with our lives. Like, what are the choices that we are making right now? That creates the earth within our feet. And if we want new earth, then we need to create new choices, right? And how do we do that in a way that we can connect with some really big work that needs to be done right now, but also do it with joy, with laughter. Richard Rohr had a conference back in 2009 called Laughing and Weeping, and I just love the name of that conference because it really invites us into embracing that paradox, that it's not an either or, it's both, right? And that to me is what courage, the soul medicine of courage, is all about. Can we be with who we have been, who we are right now, and who and how we want to be in the future? Can we connect with all of that, call it in, see those choices, tend to those tender part of us, and then also give a runway to those parts of us that really truly are ready to take off, are ready to shake off the old, open up and explore and have fun with creating the new, while also creating the foundations that we need to literally feel different within our own personal bodies, within the body of our life, and then as a collective within the body of all. It is a really exciting where we're going to go. Some of the quotes have already dropped in. I've already kind of framed out at least those first 6 sessions that we're going to be doing together. And I'm excited to see as they kind of roll out throughout this season, because it really is about how do we meet, how do we explore, how do we challenge, and ultimately liberate ourselves to make contact, to connect, to not just think about our lives, not just hope this about our lives, but to create. Thought creates form. That has to go from our 7th chakra down through all these, like the tight middle of the constant change, through that high heart of being able, what can I sense, what can I feel, what do I fear, what will other people think, sense, see, feel, hear, know. It's got to get through that quote below the waist kind of survival network, all the way to putting down roots. And then we need to nourish those roots and let them come back up and give fruition. That true, like, up and down energy at the same time, really allowing ourselves to step into that. Oh, I love that, connecting heaven and earth, just bringing that a little bit in for you at this time. So just a quick little recap in case you're new to me. Welcome. Hello. What I love to do is kind of teach with a little bit of wisdom teachings up first, maybe ground it in a quote or something that we're up to, and then give us a practice of that. Like, put that into play so that you can, what I call, take it for a walk in your life. Like, let yourself first just become aware of how is this concept showing up in your life, both quote asleep or in the shadow, and then consciously. Sometimes we're way further along on a path than we think we are. We have just like blinders on, that we're kind of nose blind to the changes that we've made. So part of the process that I really like to invite clients is just like really honoring, like, wow, this is the journey I've been on. I've already come this far. I've got some more skin in this game than maybe my system gives me credit for. And so let me start to update those beliefs. Let me start to update those stories so that I can see where I actually am. And from that place of awareness and acceptance, then we can make the choice. What is the action that wants to come in right now? How do we want to be with this moment, with this awareness, awakeness on board in a way that matches who I truly be? It matches my heart, it matches my soul, matches my body, helping my body feel safe and secure with that choice, and then helping my mind meet it. Say yes to it. Be willing not to sit there and punch holes in it or just like drag its feet and be like, sure, go ahead, try that. It's not going to work, right? Like, no, we want to bring with and come together in that true integration. And so that's what we really were working on in seasons 1, 2, and 3. Seasons 1 focused a lot on that idea of building inner trust. So releasing the worry energy, the anxiety, the fear, the panic, and not poo-pooing it, but like really honoring that there are reasons to have worry, to have fear, that our nervous system has constant requests on us, that sometimes we don't know how we're going to respond. And ultimately, there's fears in there of how we're going to be judged, perceived, belong, connect with. Are we going to be successful or not? What does that do to our survival? So instead of, quote, trying to say, I don't have fear, it's more about opening up a beautiful place on the side of you that says, okay, I have a spot for the fear. I have a spot for the worries, but I also have a spot for trusting in my own inner worth and guidance and ability to resource myself internally and externally. And that is like Sharon Salzberg, who we're going to talk to a little bit more here in this episode's definition of happiness. Do we feel that we innately have the ability to resource ourselves inside or outside of ourselves in a way that can help us meet life's ups and downs? And to me, that's not just happiness, that's joy, that's laughter, that's my ability to meet the reality as a realist. This is what's here, and also invite my heart to be with me in what's there, right? Total different vibe, opens us up to that true sense of joy and happiness in a grounded, real way, instead of that kind of merry fairy promised land thinking version of it that's fleeting, and then we get grippy with it, or we think it's never going to happen, or we don't trust it. And so that first season, we were really working on that concept of opening from fear to trust. Self-trust. Can I trust myself to go inward and open to what resources do I have available to me internally and externally, and am I willing to use them? In season 2, our main focus was about shifting from trapped anger, stuck anger, avoidant anger, and opening to how do we let anger be a messenger for the parts of us that need help, that something is wrong, is not okay, something is hurt, a boundary violation has happened internally or externally. That anger is a messenger from our body, from different aspects of us, really inviting us to give care, to love, to bring in self-worth and self-respect. And that was what we did in season 2. So if any of these topics are like, ooh, that's what I need, feel free, hop on over there and then come back to this one when you're ready, right? In season 3, we dove into what I call like the heavy lifting, which is this concept of willingness and gratitude. So the one thing that we have to be willing to do, if we're willing to let go of fear as just a protective mechanism, and we're also willing to let go of anger and righteous anger as a way to get us into motion and spur us into response, then we also need to be willing to walk with truth. And the only way we can walk with truth is with an inner gratitude within us. Otherwise, we're going to be like either stuck in that like cursing or blessing kind of wiggly wonkly space. We don't want to be in there. And so in season 3, we really dived into how do we cultivate this thing like discernment? How do we know what is truth when we have protective mechanisms and inner voices that we're so used to feeling as true, but then as we start to peel back the goggle trauma layers that I call that, we are like, whoa, I was really viewing that whole scenario through a very specific lens, and it was a lens rooted in trauma. It was a lens rooted in an experience of pain, a fear of never again will I let that happen to me. And so the way in which I was literally perceiving my world was one that was all shades of jumbled, like a blender kind of getting in there, or a whirlwind kind of coming in, where we're trying to reach out and grab just one thread and ask for discernment on it. How do we start to quiet that? And how do we start to soften that so that we can start to sort that which is happening in a present moment, that we can clearly discern and see, this is my protective mechanism. This is my personal want, wish, and desire, which, man, we have a personal self. Like, I personally don't believe our soul, divine, universe, source, I am, whatever you want to call that, wants us to not have a sense of self, because it's why? Because it's a part of us. It's a part of our incarnation. So how, again, do we partner with that? How do we bring that sense of self in to truly honoring it, and then also at the same time a yes and opening to, and what would be the best guidance for me here, for myself and for the whole, knowing that if I have something that truly empowers me, it is empowering the whole, because that's how it works. Like the rising tide lifts all ships, right? Unless some of us have anchored ourselves in different places, and then it doesn't work out so well. But it's not because it's not being offered, right? And how does that look? And so that's where we've been. That's the ground that we've covered. And as we come into this one, it's really starting to open us up to this idea that very often we do feel isolated, alone, put on an island, cut off from the choice we want to make, or we feel that the choice we want to make truly is not available to us. And what I found on my own healing journey, and then a lot of clients that I've worked with, is we didn't even know a choice was available to us. Like, we're working so hard over here, and then somebody comes in and is like, hey, what about this? And you're like the little emoji with the mind blown, like, where you have one of those moments and you're like, wait, and the little computer screen, like goes around, like thinking. And it's like, what did you just say? Like, hold up, rewind. Like, I do not even, I think I heard you, but I didn't realize that was available to me. And I didn't even think to ask. And then that moment is like this like weird awakening that we're like, holy cow, there was a part of me that truly was disconnected, cut off, not able to connect with the fullness, the wholeness of what my life has to offer me, because I didn't even know that that choice was something, A, that existed, B, something that was really available to me, and C, that I could actually find a way to do it. It might not look the same as somebody else, but there was a path forward for me in that act of connecting with that choice and what that is. And so what keeps us from doing that, right? Like, what keeps us from seeing that choice? What keeps us from picking that choice? What keeps us from following up on that choice, maybe once we make it and a wiggly wonkly twist or turn comes into the road that we didn't expect? What keeps us from bouncing, right? Getting lost again in those fears, in those self-doubts, in that anger and disappointment, like, I thought I did everything right, why is this happening, right? And even opening us up to that there might be another thread at work there. I know that was for me with this crowdfunding idea. It came in and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this in February. And then it was like, nope. I was like, okay, I'm going to push this through and I'm going to do it in March and April. And here we are, end of August is when it's going to go live. And there's like a small part of me that was like, every step of the way that it was like, yeah, no, Michelle, there's more here for you to do. I was like, oh, like, I feel like I'm doing all the things. But then I would meet somebody who would have a piece of the puzzle I didn't even know was there, and invite me into pulling off like limitations that I didn't even know I was in, to the point now where I'm like, I'm really actually excited about this Kickstarter campaign and how it's going to connect with people and how it's going to allow people to connect with me through it. That is way beyond just pre-ordering and getting good pricing on the different products that are within this suite, right? And all of that would have never happened if it had launched back when I first thought it would, right? And so that's the tricky thing about this act of connecting, is that it's not always in the direction, the timing, the way in which we personally think it should be. Our ego kind of gets hold of it, or our fears get hold of it, of what is happening. So this season is going to be all about bringing permission. Permission for you to shake off those fears, soften your attachment to those self doubts, and really kind of give yourself a perspective that loosens you from being stuck in that whirlwind of confusion or stalemates with protective and conditioned parts of you, so that you can really start to stride out, right? Open to really consciously exploring what is here, what wants to be here, and giving yourself permission to say, I don't have to be the person I was even when I woke up this morning, right? Like the past versions of myself, of who I am, how I think about that, the stories that I tell about that, they don't have to be me for all time and eternity. They were me, they were brilliant. I don't have to make them wrong or bad to even release them. There's a crazy thing right there, right? That I can honor them, lovingly thank them, walk with that gratitude, walk with that connection, and also walk with the parts of me that are wanting to be here now with me as they're being guided, and they're not burdened by the generational trauma, the conditioned selves, the stigma, the status quo, all that momentum of just karma, the past, the ripple effect of cause and effect of the past. Like we truly have the ability to push pause, step off that karmic wheel, and open to another one. How do we do that? Is through connecting. And what type of connection? Courageous connection, and allowing that to be in there. Sound like a worthy place to explore this season? I hope so. And I hope that it is definitely something that you are excited to be with over the next 12 weeks as we dive in together. So let us go on in. Our first quote for this season is through Sharon Salzberg, who is the inspiration behind, again, my definition for joy, and part of the inspiration for my online membership area and private podcast, which is Connecting with Joy. And she wrote in her book, Real Love and the Art of Mindful Connection, which I just love. Of course, I had to pick a book with connection in the title. She says that our ability to connect with others is innate, wired into our nervous systems, and we need connection as much as we need physical nourishment. Let me just say that again. Sharon invites us into a beautiful cosmic truth that our ability to connect with others is innate. It's wired into our nervous system, and we don't need connection to, we need connection in order to survive as much as we need connection to help nourish us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. The same is true for our physical nourishment, right? And so if we can't just give ourselves the supplements and the exercise that we need, if we're not connected to our body in that process, it's not going to work. We're not going to get the full range of benefits of whatever that health routine is, whatever that mindset routine is, whatever that meditation practice routine is. If we're trying to learn something or bring a new skill like an art or writing or music or any of those things, again, we can go through and work through them. But if we don't connect with them, if we don't allow ourselves to open to them and dialogue with them from a true being with perspective, we're only going to get so far. Like the physical act of giving ourselves something, whether that's time, treasures, talents, resources, whatever, will only get us so far. What allows us to really nourish ourselves, to grow, to expand, to shift, to change, that only happens with one ingredient, which is the soul medicine of connecting, right? And while I love Sharon's quote that it's innate within us, that our nervous system is wired to do this, there is also another truth that depending on the environment that we grew up in, what our nervous system was steeped in, what it had available to us, what it saw through its mirror neuron networks of what it was trying to match and adapt to and reflect so that the beings, the giants around us would see us as same and therefore accept us. That is a little bit of the sticky wicky, because while we're innately wired for it, all of that which I just mentioned, that has a tendency to alter, to shift, to disconnect us from that innate wisdom of that soul medicine of connection and shift us more into a way in which we have contact with the world through the lens of fear, scarcity, comparison, appeasement. This is what I have to do to survive. So for many of us, our nervous systems had to literally abandon the ways in which that they would like to connect. They know how to connect. They had to let it go, just like walking through a desert. I think this is such a great image. It's like, imagine that you are stranded, right? And you have a backpack and it's full of all of your absolute favorite things in it. And you just absolutely love them. And as you're trying to get to a place where somebody can help you or meet your needs or even know that you're lost, right? Like on that trek, that backpack, even your most favorite treasured possessions start to feel heavy, start to feel like a burden. And one by one, we have to start making choices. Okay, I can live without this. I can live without this. I have to let this one go. And little by little, we are like having to abandon these beautiful aspects of ourselves, separating ourselves further and further from that truth. That's what happens to us when we're stuck in an environment that has a different version from our innate wiring, right? We have to let go of parts of ourselves. We have to disconnect. We have to separate, detach from that and put in something else that's going to help us meet that need and that survival, even if it doesn't match who we truly are. So take a moment and just take a nice deep breath in and out. And I'd like for you to imagine a little baby. And that little baby, I feel into to my daughters when they were this age, or I have some clients right now that have little ones, and I've had the joy of being able to hold them and to be with them, or just watch them with their family, with their people and their beings. And innately, that little being, this wiring that Sharon is talking about, wants to reach. It wants to reach out, and its little hands go out into the universe and they extend with those things that we were talking about. Trust. They trust. Their wiring says somebody will respond with love, with attunement, with curiosity, with compassion, with like delight of like, oh, this little being is reaching for me, and I can just see in them this innate goodness and value and worth, and they don't have to do anything to earn it. They're just like, oh, they're just so amazing. And that little reach expects to have that returned, to connect with that and have that dance of connection given back to it. And in that connection, when they reach, they expect to be in that give and that take of that receiving. for them to reach and smile, and that smile light up and feed the other person. And then the other person wants to give back. They want to smile and tend to the other, right? And so it is this dance of giving, receiving requests, and trying to meet those requests the best we can. And again, the little baby doesn't demand perfection. It just says, are you willing to see that I've reached? And if for some reason that can't be met, whatever it is that you want that request, like I can't change that diaper right at this moment, or I can't feed you right now, or I'm struggling to figure out, do you need to be burped? Do you need a diaper? Like, what is it that you need? That as long as somebody's seeing me and trying to help me make sense of what's happening in my world, and not abandoning me in that need, right? That even if I can't get that for whatever reason, if somebody is at least with me, that gives an internal felt sense of sensation of safety in our body, in our nervous system. When that doesn't happen, when we reach with our little hands and we're met with something other than attunement, we're met with something that's like quick and moving and assuming, and like wanting us to shift from one state to another or to show up in a certain way, little by little, every time that happens, we have to let go. And little by little, we get more and more protectors that really start to get in the way of us reaching. And it's not because the outside world is wrong. That's way beyond that sense of self that little being has. That little being can only see the world through the eyes in which is reflected to them, which is them. And so they only can come up with, if I'm not getting what my body tells me should happen, the problem in this equation is not the giant in the room, it's me. It's not the environment that I'm in, it's my inner environment. So the result is we feel unworthy, we feel wrong, we feel too demanding, we start to edit our heart. We're going to talk about that later in the season too. This one's just kind of setting us up for some of the ground that we're going to carry through so that we can reclaim this innate wiring that Sharon is talking about, right? Because what happens is little by little, as that contact, that attuned connecting and connection is severed, askew, and nothing ever comes back to kind of reconcile that to the best of the ability. When that doesn't happen, we get a straitjacket literally placed on our body, our physical body. It's not going to reach, it's not going to respond, it's not even going to try to share. It's going to be knocking on the door trying to share this information with our heart, and our heart's going to go, whoa, there's no room for that. The mind has got a gatekeeper at that. We're not allowed to feel that, we're not allowed to think it, we're not allowed to do anything with it. It just has to be exiled in our system, right? And so then little by little, we do build walls around our heart. We build, make the channel between our soul and our own ego self to be fuzzy. And we separate that out. This season, it's about connecting back in, opening to the place where we want to seek, we want to reach, we want to open, we want to let our heart talk clearly, our soul talk clearly, and clear up those channels so that we can do that very same thing that we were guided to do as a little one. Reach, jump, be, twirl, do all the things that a child in the light without those burdens would naturally be doing. And therefore, an adult without those burdens would naturally be doing. We want to put that innate wiring back on course. So the first hidden kind of missing step for most people when they start working on connection is that we start looking at, well, let me connect with something outside of me, right? And I go, well, that's great, but let's actually turn the lens to something inside of you. Let's connect first with either our body, our heart, conversation with our mind, this idea with our soul or our spirit, if you're willing to. Why? Because that innate biological driver to connect will be there with that conditioned way, whether we're pointing it outside or inside. And I'd much rather have this awareness happen, this like acceptance of, whoa, that really is the way I've been programmed to connect. I'd rather have that in an inner dialogue, and then go try with the training wheels that we found inside of ourselves, outside of ourselves. Many of you, though, already have those training wheels. So then, yeah, by all means, we can do it outside of ourselves. But ultimately, the piece we mostly overlook is how do we connect with our own body? The body, our physical body, the body of our life, our heart, our dreams. How do we connect with our thoughts and the thoughts that aren't ours but are in our system? How do we connect with this thing called a soul? And when we start to connect with it, it's not about observing. Seasons 1 through 3, we learned how to observe. We learned how to have that non-attached kind of point of view that could challenge the different kind of allegiances that we had to the perceptions of the ways of the world. This season is about being with. It's about being with that heartbeat. If you live in like a city environment, like what is the movement of that city? What are the noises, the cultures, the smells, the tastes, the seas of people? Like how do they move in and out? And how are you in that tapestry of movement? Like if you're like me in a more rural area, like what does that look like? What are the beings around you that have the same thing? Like what is the heartbeat of that area that you live in, with the nature beings, the human beings, the mechanical beings? Like, what is that? How do you connect with that space that you're in? Are you just moving through it in this detached kind of bubbly kind of thing? Or are you moving in and with it, open to the way in which you are breathing with them and they are breathing with you? What is your system doing with the environment, and what is the environment doing with you? And how then do those pieces work together? That's a little scary considering what I talked about first. The environment probably wasn't that great, which is why we do what we do. Okay, so I thought it would be fun to do, if you haven't seen some of the series where I've started opening up to doing some card draws and reads from the Sacred Witness Oracle deck. I thought it would be fun for this one to bring in one. And the one that wanted to come forward for this one is, and we'll bring it on the screen for you, card 51, which is connecting. And connecting, there is a card in here called connection. They're similar, but they're coming in two different sections of the deck. So while it sounds like a nuance between the two, they vastly have two different energies. The connection card is part of the mental being. And so it's asking us to look at the ways in which we even believe or think or perceive the idea of connection in general. Like, is that safe? Is that not safe? Are we open to it? Do we allow ourselves to acknowledge that we want that? Do we allow ourselves to acknowledge that it's innate? This one wanted to come in as card 51 from the soul being. And so it's the soul medicine of connecting, the act of being in connection. So not just the idea of it, but what does it look like in form when we allow that inspiration to guide us to open to it. So feel in, just look at this card again, and you can see that there are two beautiful horse beans. The horses had to come into this deck somewhere, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know where to bring them in. And again, Kim Ganley, the artist for it, as I was kind of going through this one, I was like, oh, I think I'm finally ready. This is the card where the horse beans want to come in. They've been such a huge part of my own journey. And the type of the way they wanted to come in for this card was called mutual grooming. And mutual grooming is a beautiful behavior that happens between horses when they, instead of seeking something in their environment to rub against and to scrape against, they go and they ask, and they truly ask the other horse, are you willing to be in the act of connecting with me, of like scratching my back where I can't reach? But more than that, they're asking for another horse to step out of that daily grind and be with them, be in connection with them, to listen to them when they say, ooh, a little to the left, a little to the right, to be in that dance of not only giving to them, but they in return at the same time are also giving to the other horse. So they are grooming each other at the same time, listening to each other's requests, trying to be attuned in that connection with each other, and in that art of giving and receiving. And they could meet these needs in their own way, but they choose to ask the other one to meet them in there. But that is like really vulnerable. Right, so feel into that. This card also has an innate ask for you to courageously be with the vulnerability of asking and willing to be told no. And then willing to then say, then how do I meet this connection that I have, that I want, that I desire? How do I meet it in other beautiful, healthy ways? So that's why I add the word courage and courageous to this season's title of Courageous Connecting, is because it takes an immense amount of courage to be with a felt sense with it versus just that kind of aloof, cool, nonchalant, like, hey, I can see you. I can hear that request. I can even understand it. Like, no, we want to be in it, be open, out of the mind and into the soul. And the soul to me is not a separate part of you. It is a deepening of that heart. It is like the essence of who you are at your core. So it is a deep inward felt sense, not this outside sense, right? Just take a look at the card again. And as you're looking at this card, just take a moment and reflect on what are the different ways that you typically answer that request to connect with yourself. And that could be through things like self-work, like what we're doing right now. Does it feel safe to just have that kind of more detached? Like I'm willing to observe, I'm willing to even like open to compassion, but it's got some space. Like what level of contact feels okay and what doesn't. So it can be a blend of like this cool kind of distance thing or like this like deep, like I'm coming alongside it, I'm sitting with it, I'm opening up my heart energy. Um, with things that you're doing like for your work, maybe reflect there. With things that you're doing with family or friends, and maybe even change. Like when I'm with this person, I feel this way with them. Like, wow, that's really interesting. What about that person either opens me up or feels more like it's safer to be in that detached energy? I can be in the thought of connection, but not the act of connecting, right? Because this card is about the act of connecting, not the thought of it, right? And then another beautiful reflection question is, are there certain aspects of you that historically or even right now are really at odds with this idea of connecting? Like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. That is a hard pass, a hard no. There is caution tape around this particular topic. What does that look like? So, for me, like, there was a time frame, a whole year went by that I literally just would not look in mirrors because I was working on a lot of self, like anger and judgments, and it didn't matter like what people said. I just did not want to do that. So I'd look in the mirror long enough to like make sure I like looked somewhat presentable, but then that was it. I didn't want to linger with being able to see myself or to look at myself or to connect with myself, right? I could do the surface level, but not the other one. And as I started to really get compassionate and curious about that, how did I meet those parts of me so that I can now like lovingly look in that mirror and yes, could I fix some stuff and be like, oh, like, oh, need a little bit more something, something. I've got some like shimmer coming through up there, or like, oh, whatever is like, can I meet that with love and kindness, but can I still really meet me? Can I meet my own gaze and feel a sense of love and safety in that? Right. So that's just an example for me of a place that was really off limits at one part of my journey and now is quite gorgeous to have in something different. So that's the next and final reflection question is like, what aspects of you are you able to open to that healthy soul led connecting with? Like, really able to bring that in and can also have that ability to step back and get a little bit more what's called that metal element within us, that ability to have that kind of observer self. But I also have the ability to connect in. So I can do both. And ultimately, that's what this medicine is about. Like, can I hold that observer self? Because it's beautiful. We need it. We spent 3 seasons developing that, right? But can we now also add in this? So can we do both at the same time? That's the tricky wiki space. That's what we're going to be working and bringing ourselves into throughout this season. So I hope that this intro exercise and kind of opening kind of lecture to the season is something that sounds intriguing as we dive into each one. So I like to end each session or episode with a little bit of an intention. I have a formula for helping us like manifest thought to form and create a new karmic wheel for ourselves. And that is that we first like need to set that intention. We need to have that guided thought. We don't want to lock ourselves so intently into it. So we want to leave it to where spirit can still chat with us. So then we want it to guide our attention. Like, so once I set the intention, I want to guide it to my attention. And then from that attention of like me seeing the different ways in which I'm either open or not open, all the shades of everything else in between of whatever that intention is, then can I engage with the choice that really is asking me to work with in there. So it's a pretty simple formula. That's my manifestation formula. Set that intention, allow it to guide your attention, and from that attention, allow it to sort through and guide you to what to engage with that's within the flow of your highest good and benefit as we go. So that's the formula. So just take a moment, take a nice deep breath in. We've covered a lot of ground in this opening episode. Exhale. And just really set that intention that over the next week, but the season is 12 weeks, can you be open to the ways in which your soul is asking for you to connect? Connect with the present moment, the different aspects of you or your life that are in it. And from that connection, ask for Reiki energy to help guide your attention to the ways in which your soul is asking for you to maybe shift gears from being in that more two-dimensional kind of aloof energy to being in contact, closer contact with a part of you. Instead of holding it at arm's length, opening to interacting with it in a more heart open and vulnerable way, right? And then also allow it to guide your attention to the ways in which your heart is inviting you to slow down, to linger. Connecting is lingering. Again, think of the horses of this card. They could walk up to a tree and they could scrub, 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 and then go back to munching grass. That's not what they're asking for in that request of mutual grooming. They're asking for each other to slow down, open to each other, be in that linger, in that connection with each other. Oftentimes, after mutual grooming, they'll fall asleep. They'll kind of cock a leg, rest, and just be in that heart energy because they're heart to heart with each other by that point. And let their hearts just embrace each other, come into coherence with each other. So where might that be being asked to be present within your life in this coming week? And just notice then where you're saying yes. Remember, connecting, sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we're just so busy in this habitual mindset of even how we perceive our own life. We don't even see where, oh my gosh, I did linger there. I did connect. I didn't just stay like in this more kind of metal, cerebral thought base. Like I let myself embody, incarnate down into my body. We're going to talk about that word a lot this season. Coming in, engaging through my body, and holy cow, I did that, and it felt scary. Or a part of me actually like freaked out on the backside, but I was totally fine when I was in it. And then just get curious, engage in that compassionate self dialogue and reflection and inquiry of really like what was either kind of push me, pull me, stopping you, gumming you up, or what was helping you create the ability to be with this medicine of the soul, the medicine of contact, the medicine of connection, the medicine of connecting. How were you able to courageously open to, like Sharon says, that innate wiring and open to that in tune connection and conversation? So I hope that this inquiry is helpful to you. Again, I would love to invite you to connect with me, with the Sacred Witness Oracle, as we are getting ready to roll that out through our Kickstarter campaign. It's going to be so much fun and just create this true community of people that believe in this project, that want to not only have it to support themselves, but they want to create the ability for it to be there to support so many people that either they may never come in contact with, but they know they're in connection with. So check out below for all the links of how to join either our VIP launch community, where I have some special bonuses. There's another like full reading. I do extended card readings in that VIP area. And there is a VIP exclusive, even like steeper discount than the Kickstarter discounts that are available for the pre-orders. So check that out if that's calling to you. But you can also follow along for free. We do ask for a $1 like kind of reservation in that VIP area, and that just lets us know you're really serious about becoming a part of this project. You've put $1 down, a little bit of like energetic vibration of yes, I love this. I want to help support bring this into the world. But you can do it for free as well, either through our own list, or you can go directly to Kickstarter and click Sacred Witness Oracle, and then click Notify Me on Launch. And they will send you an email directly from them if for some reason you don't want to be on a list with me. You can definitely go do it that way. If you could even go do the Kickstarter one, even if you are on one of my lists, that would be fabulous. It helps us with their little algorithm. And so we would love some of that love over there. Again, I hope that this season finds and meets you well and is right on track with where you are wanting to go with your practices in the next few weeks, and offering you light, love, and joy. Michelle, I'll see you in the next one, and also over in the launches for this coming month of the Sacred Witness Oracle. Bye. Thank you for listening to Soulful Practices. For more information on how to work directly with me or one of my guests, check out the show notes below. We'd love for you to also let us know what parts of this episode are speaking to you and how this practice is supporting you on your healing and spiritual journey. Please share this podcast with fellow seekers, travelers. Together, we can create a wave of soul-led beings in this world, offering you light, love, and joy on your journey. Michelle Holling-Brooks. Until next time.